Hello and welcome to Hollywood Guns. I'm your host Wilson. On this channel I exclusively feature firearms from my personal collection that appeared in your favorite movies and TV shows of the late 20th century. This video is about what was once the most powerful handgun in the world, the Smith Wesson Model 29 chambered in the .44 Magnum cartridge. I think it's fair to say that this gun was the co-star in the 1971 movie Dirty Harry.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Hey. I got to know.
And here's the one from my collection. For simplicity, I call it the 8-inch version, but its actual measurements on the barrel is 8 3/8 of an inch. As you can see, this one is almost dripping wet in dark blue steel, wearing gorgeous Goncalo Alves target stocks. To my eye, and many other collectors, this piece exemplifies Smith & Wesson when they were at their top of their game.
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. But being this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow your head clean off, you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Let's take a closer look at my Model 29 in its original Smith & Wesson factory presentation box. As soon as I start touching this gun, it attracts fingerprints like you wouldn't believe. So let me just do the obligatory safety check. As you can see, that this is completely unloaded. And the only thing wrong now is it will be picking up fingerprints. Now, as you may know in the movie, the armor is used for several Model 29s throughout the film. And apparently the 6 and 8-inch versions were used in different scenes. I've watched the movie several times, and I've tried to keep count of the shots that Clint Eastwood takes and the different scenes of which version is used in which scene. I generally just get lost in the movie every single time. If you haven't seen this movie and you're a younger viewer, a millennial or younger, and you don't know what Dirty Harry is, but you've heard of this gun, through its legend. Please go and watch the movie right now. You will be stunned at how awesome it is. But anyway, coming back to the point, the 6 and 8 inch barrel versions were used throughout the movie. The two most famous scenes at the beginning and the end of the movie where Clint Eastwood says, "I know what you're thinking," and I'm not going to attempt the American accent, I can't do it, sorry. I'm pretty sure that those scenes were used with the 6-inch version, but the one scene that I'm pretty sure that the 8-inch version, this one, was used in, is the scene where Clint, or Detective Callahan, shoots the villain Scorpio inside the football stadium in the leg from probably about 50 yards. And I'll pop that up on the screen right now, and you can see that looks pretty clear to me that that is the 8-inch version.
Stop!
The Model 29 was launched in December 1955, and the first revision came as the 29-1 in 1962. At that time, Smith & Wesson changed the extractor rod and the screw thread to a left-hand turn to prevent unscrewing from the stout recoil of the .44 Magnum. My revolver is the next revision from 1962 onwards, and that's the Model 29-2. I'm not sure if the light allows you to just see that inside there. This is the revision that Dirty Harry used in the movie. And the Model 29-2 remained unchanged for 20 years before the next upgrade in 1982. Now, you can get a lot of the information on older firearms from the internet, but I'm a bit of an old timer now, I guess, and I like old books, and this is one that I highly recommend to get. That's kind of an encyclopedia of Smith & Wesson product information called the Standard Catalogue of Smith & Wesson. You can pick this up on eBay or from Amazon or any book publishers. Most brands have got similar reference material, Browning, Beretta, and so on, that has been put together. And this is where I like to find a lot of the information related to the firearms that I'm interested in. In addition to that, one of the other things I like to do as a firearms collector is try and source not only the firearms that are vintage, but also the magazines and advertisements and other accoutrements, from the same time period. So what I have here is, this is an original 1970 catalog from Smith & Wesson of their firearms. This one is the 1976 one as well. Again, you can learn a lot of really interesting information from here. For example, things like the pricing that the guns were offered for, during that time period. But yeah, if you were in the market for a Model 29 in the early 70s, this is what you had before the internet. Hopefully this is interesting to you. To me, I find it really cool. Just the photography quality is outstanding. We don't see marketing material like this anymore. And there she is, the 29 series. Anyway, all told, the Model 29 continues to this day in Smith & Wesson's classic series, and I think they're up beyond 29-8 revision at this point. A lot of revisions made improvements, but many were efficiency gains to simplify and lower the cost of manufacturing. And as such, most Smith & Wesson fans, like myself, kind of agree that the pre-lock guns, that's an entirely different story all on its own. But anyway, you may have heard the term pre-lock guns. So the pre-lock guns made prior to the 1990s were of the highest quality, especially the finish on the bluing. I'm a huge Smith & Wesson fan, and I have several other revolvers and pistols in my collection, and hopefully I'll be able to figure out a way to show you some of these on this channel, although several of the most interesting ones are not really featured in any of the movies that I'm looking to do videos on. But hey, I'll try and find a way to get them in if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in. In each of my videos, I'm just going to talk briefly about the accuracy of the firearms portrayal in the movie versus real life, and score it on 3 different categories. The first being the capacity of the firearm, and did the movie producers use the firearm to its capacity, or are they a little bit liberal in terms of how they use that firearm? Well, Dirty Harry, I think, scores an A here. If you count the shots in all the scenes, Harry fires either 5 shots or 6 shots, perfectly, so he gets an A. Second category is the reality of the caliber and how it's used and its impact. upon its targets. And this is where I have a little bit of a problem with Dirty Harry, so I'm going to have to score this kind of like a D, I think. You know, the Magnum 44 cartridge was, after all, the most powerful handgun in the world and would blow your head clean off. So when he shot the bank robber in the shoulder, or rather in the arm, if you like, in the first scene, that guy still had an arm afterwards and was, he was coherent when he walked up to him and talked to him. And the Magnum 44 typically shoots a 240 grain bullet, and it's moving at around 1200 feet per second, and that's going to generate something like 860 energy foot-pounds. If you're not familiar with ballistics, that's about double the power of your typical 9mm round. So if Harry was shooting ball ammo, perhaps, that guy might have had a lucky through and through shot. But if Harry was using a defensive round like a hollow point, like most law enforcement professionals of that time would have been, let's just say that guy wouldn't have been playing the violin ever again. The final category is the accuracy of the weapon, how it was used, and could the actor have made the shots that he made? Again, I think Dirty Harry gets kind of an A. The longer barreled Model 29s, the 6 and the 8 inches, were originally designed as handgun hunting revolvers for hunting medium-sized game. So compared to other 4-inch revolvers and semi-automatic pistols of the time, I'm pretty satisfied that the long shots that you see Harry make in the opening and closing scenes, and especially the one, in that football stadium where he makes the really long shot to hit Scorpio, were well doable. Furthermore, if you've seen the sequel, Magnum Force, you're going to know that Harry was the reigning San Francisco Police Department pistol champion. So I think he can make those shots pretty well. And that's kind of a nice segue into one of the most interesting bits of trivia related to the franchise. Arguably, it created firearms icons of not just one, but 3 different guns. So if you wouldn't mind, help me out, drop a comment for bragging rights, and let me know what were the other 2 weapons that the Dirty Harry franchise made famous. I think you'll probably get the second most obvious one, and that's going to be a future video. But the third one's a little tricky, so kudos to you if you get that right, and I'm still looking for one of those for my collection. They don't actually come up very often. Now, if you're a gun guy like me and you collect kind of old firearms, I suspect that most of your favorite pieces are going to be something that is sentimental to you, from back in the past, your childhood, an heirloom or something like that. And this gun here is kind of no exception. So if you'll just permit me, for a second, I'm an Englishman living in America, and one of the reasons I came over was because I grew up in the 1980s watching old action movies, that my father introduced me to when I was a boy and then a teenager, and that led me to want to come to America. And a couple of years ago, when my father was over, we went to a gun show, and he wanted to find a Model 29 because his favorite movie was Dirty Harry. And we didn't get one at the time, but it took me about a year after that, and eventually I found this piece. And I called him up and said, "Hey Dad, you'll never guess what I've found, the Model 29. And so when he comes over to the States next, it's been a while, I'm hoping that we're going to go and shoot this gun. I don't think I mentioned it before, but I don't think this gun's been fired before other than the test shots at the factory. So I have made a promise to my dad that I'm not going to shoot this until he comes over to the US. And we're going to shoot this for the first time together, which will be interesting because I don't think he's ever shot a gun. So it's going to be in for a bit of a surprise. But anyway, one of the things which was really cool was when I got the gun home, I peeled back this clamshell here, and underneath were all the original bits of paperwork from when the gun was purchased new. And inside here, I won't show it all on camera, just in case the gentleman is alive, but in here is all the original paperwork for when the firearm was purchased. And I actually found that this was purchased in Canada, no less, by a gentleman. And anyway, all of that paperwork is still here inside the box. And the most strange coincidence that I found was that this gun was actually produced and registered first in 1975. And that was actually my birth year. And I've been collecting firearms for a number of years now. And I've always wanted to get a gun from 1975, but I never actually found one. And then all of a sudden, when this sort of fell in my lap, it turns out that this gun is from 1975. So this one in my will says, should I pass away, I will eventually, hopefully I'll hand my firearms on to my children. And over time, they're very young at the moment, but they'll hopefully become interested in firearms, in American culture. They were both born here in the States. But this one I've said specifically, this is now our heirloom. This one can't be sold. You know, Dirty Harry was my father's, is my father's probably favorite Clint Eastwood movie. You know, the movie's influence, the actor's influence, and you know, the whole genre of action movies from the 1970s and the 1980s is, you know, one of the main reasons why I'm here in the States now. So this one is very special, and hopefully it will remain in my family forever. According to the Internet Movie Database, Dirty Harry is the third highest rated movie of Clint Eastwood's long and storied career, which included epic movies like Unforgiven, Pale Rider, Gran Torino, and many more. However, I challenge you without using Google to try and recall any of the characters' names he played in these movies besides Inspector Harry Callahan. I can only think of one more. As such, I would argue that Dirty Harry is Clint's most iconic character, and whether you're a gun guy or just a movie buff, a lot of this movie's notoriety and Clint's stardom is because of the Model 29. After Dirty Harry, more than 100 movies and TV shows have featured the Model 29, which demonstrate that basically you're the man. You're the tough guy, a badass, not to be messed with. Good examples include Nick Nolte in 48 Hours, Chuck Norris in Lone Wolf McCade, Mel Gibson in Payback, and even Bruce Willis in Sin City, where the director Frank Miller made his character Hartigan use the Model 29 as an ode to Dirty Harry as he rescued the young girl in the movie, who was called Nancy Callahan. Urban legend tells us that he felt that Deadpool was a lukewarm way to end the 5-movie franchise. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, and a common theme in Hollywood movies is the nod or anchor point that is often inserted from prior hits. The Model 29 is also featured heavily in movies to parody or meme Dirty Harry, Victor Wong in Big Trouble in Little China, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Red Heat, and Judge Reinhold in Beverly Hills Cop No. 2.
Cellar on your hands.
Call the police, Jack. You're not a one-man army.
Cops got better things to do than get killed. Hey, here he is, Jack.
No. These are our friends. These are the Chang Sings.
Any of them savvy English?
Hey, man, who is this guy?
All right. You got any guns?
Well, not against Lo Pan, but here's one for you. Make you feel better, like Dirty Harry.
I'll stick with these.
All right, goddammit. All right, I owe you one, because you saved my life tonight. Here. Captain Danko, you are now the proud owner of the most powerful handgun in the world.
Soviet Potpourri 9.2 millimeter is world's most powerful handgun.
Come on, everyone knows the Magnum 44 is the big boy in the black. Why do you think Dirty Harry uses it?
Who is Dirty Harry?
Yo, man, what's that for? After the shootout at the club, I figured I needed more firepower. Yo, man, we gotta talk seriously. Who do you think you are, Clint Eastwood? Dirty Rosewood?
And that's it. It's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's the first one I ever made. If you want to help support my channel so that I can continue this passion project and make more videos of famous movie firearms, please hit the like and subscribe button and take a few seconds to send me a comment about what you enjoyed, what I got wrong from maybe a historical perspective, what I could improve upon, and which firearms and movies you'd like to see me tackle in future videos. All these things tell the algorithm I'm doing a good job. It'll promote my channel further and wider and inspire me some more. So that's it for now. I'll see you in the next video.